Lawyers make submissions and counter-submissions during the hearing of the presidential petition challenging the October 26 presidential election. Now, Jubilee, NASA and IEBC lawyers have already filed their responses ahead of the pre-trial session tomorrow. Jubilee argues the win on October 26th was a confirmation of the August 8th victory that was quashed by the Supreme Court. Now, the president, through his lawyers, terms the petitioners as surrogates and mouthpieces of his competitor, Raila Odinga. All right, now to speak to my colleague Murimi Mwangi joining us from our City Centre studio. And Murimi, very interesting remarks coming from the lawyers representing President Uhuru Kenyatta, saying that NASA actually has surrogates and quote-unquote mouthpieces as petitioners. Where did this come from?
Well, good morning, Betty. Unlike in the previous petition that was before the Supreme Court, the National Super Alliance were not the petitioners this time around. And of course, Jubilee has tried to rebuff that with the argument that the current petitioners may have done that on behalf of NASA. But NASA insists that from their decision to quit the repeat presidential poll, the decision by their presidential candidate Raila Odinga and his running mate Kalonzo Musyoka meant that no election was to happen, and they were citing the provisions of the 2013 Supreme Court verdict that restricted a repeat election to the two top candidates that were of course, in the previous election before the nullification by court. But as listed respondents in these petitions, NASA has filed their responses. They did that yesterday. Today is the deadline for interested parties as well as friends of court, commonly known as the amicus curiae, to file their documents today at the Supreme Court. And of course, that's to set the stage for the pretrial conference tomorrow. But interestingly, there's a third petition to which NASA did not file their papers yesterday, and that is the petition by the Institute for Democratic Governance, in which the petitioner is not challenging President Kenyatta's re-election per se, but seeking punishment of the opposition leaders of alleged electoral offences relating to their boycott call, which they say was an incitement to their supporters to prevent IEBC from conducting the election. It will be interesting to see what position the Supreme Court will take regarding to that, because NASA has said that particular petition is not a presidential election petition, because it's not challenging the outcome of the election or the process per se, but seeking what you might call culpability for alleged electoral offences. And that, of course, will be part of what the Supreme Court will be grappling with for the better part of this week. We expect the final verdict by latest Monday next week. Betty.
They're reporting from our City Centre studio, just bringing us up to speed with what to expect at the Supreme Court this week. Remember that tomorrow there's going to be that conference.